Great. So here's you here on earth, let's say. So what we could say is we're sitting here on earth and we have our own emotional condition to deal with. So there's our what is called our own soul condition that I've been calling it, which is the sum total of all of our beliefs, all of our passions, all of our desires, and all of our entire emotional condition has an energy, has a force. And this entire emotional condition, which we could call our soul condition, determines all of our personal law of attraction and everything else that's going on in our life. So most of us are aware of that now that we've listened to many of the talks. So there's this personal soul condition we have. Then there's this cloud, if you like, surrounding the entire earth of humanity's soul condition. Now, while my condition matches closely to humanity's condition, I will feel relatively happy because I'm not receiving any opposition to my own condition. Does that make sense? So I'll actually have a feeling of relative contentment or happiness generally. The more I try to buck against humanity's soul condition, the more I feel the pressure of humanity's soul condition. Does that make sense? So let's say you try to get yourself from firstly being sort of similar to humanity's soul condition, which by the way is in a low first sphere condition right at this moment, and you try to raise yourself to a high first sphere soul condition by dealing with a whole group of emotions. Well, what happens is now you've got the pressure of humanity's soul condition working against you doing that. Does that make sense? Straight away, humanity's soul condition is in opposition to what you're trying to release so that you can accept new beliefs and new constructs within yourself. And the human soul condition is almost like an opposition or a barrier you've got to barge your way through before you can raise your own condition. Now, on top of that, we've got in the first sphere of the spirit world, we've got all of these male and female spirits who have passed from the earth, so I'll draw quite a lot of them across here like so, who are in what you would classify as a hellish condition. Now, when I say the word hellish condition, we're not talking about the fire and brimstone of the Christian beliefs, but hellish condition in that if you met one of these people, you would actually assume that they're the devil that the Bible speaks about. That's how bad their condition is. That's how lacking in love their condition is. If you could see them physically, you would see them and probably in most cases be terrified. This is one of the main reasons why many of us turn off the gift of mediumship in our childhood, because sometimes we see some of these spirits, right? And then as a result of seeing these spirits, what happens is we get terrified because of that. Does that make sense? All mobile phones off, please. The next time a mobile phone goes off, you will go as well. Thank you. All right. So this hellish condition of all those spirits. Now, they also do not want. They also do not want you to change. Right? And in fact, they would like the earth to get into a worse condition than what it currently is. Right? Now, the reason why they would like that is because the only way for them to work, to get any emotional satisfaction at all out of their entire existence is to have people on earth they can control and manipulate to do what they want, that they can no longer do while they're in the spirit state. And so they want people in earth to get dark again, to go black as possible. Right? And in fact, they spend a lot of their time looking for people who are black to try to make them blacker. Right? To make their condition so dark that they then influence other people on the earth to get dark as well. They're the kind of spirits who want the world to remain in terror. They want you to remain terrified as well. They want you to remain in a rage. They don't want you dealing with a single emotion in a positive way. And they certainly don't want you to become loving. Right? In fact, not only do they not want you to become loving, they are going to do everything possible in their power to get you to become more unloving. That's their goal. And it's a very self-serving goal, and they feel they get joy out of it. In fact, it's the only joy they have in their existence. It's the same kind of joy that a person on earth who's a torturer gets out of torturing his victim. That's the kind of joy they get, a sense of satisfaction. They even sexually get off on the joy of it. Right? So they have a lot of very, very dark emotions, these groups of spirits. Now they are there impressing their condition onto you as well. So can you see already why you're starting to feel like it's a bit of a battle? You've got your own condition, which is sometimes bad enough to deal with it. Like when I began my own journey, I was in a suicidal state. So my own condition was bad enough, let alone having to deal with the condition of the human soul condition, and then of course the spirits in a hellish condition. Now of course there's also these natural love spirits above that, who are in various conditions of what we could rate from the second dimensional existence to the sixth dimensional existence, which is the pinnacle of a development of a natural love spirit. And they are also impressing their belief systems, their ideas, their knowledge, and all of those things onto the earth. But of course, they have the same problem as every other spirit who's in a good condition has, of getting through all of this darkness, through the mist, if you like, that surrounds the planet and therefore surrounds us living here on earth, to actually influence us. So when one of these spirits up here try to communicate with us, even on the natural love path, they're going through all of these different conditions to get to us. And in the process of going through all of those conditions, obviously there's a modification of some of the thoughts that they're trying to transmit. Does that make sense? Because each one of these stages has a limiting factor. It's like a resistance to the truth coming to be known on earth. Now, there is also these, above that, what you call celestial spirits, right? These are the spirits that are on the divine love path. The spirits that from the 8th sphere, the 8th dimension, through to the 22nd dimension, who are trying to influence you, right? But they, of course, now, you can see what they've got to go through to get to you. They've got to go through a heap of natural love beliefs and ideas and concepts that we've learnt through the entire of our life. Then they've got to go through a heap of dark emotional concepts that we've learnt through our life, you know, many of which pertain to God, but others of which pertain to our own soul and our own life. Then they've got to go through the general human condition, you know, this mist that surrounds the earth of fear, doubt, anger, rage, and all those emotions, and then they can get to communicate to you. Only if your soul condition is willing to receive it. Can you see how many barriers there are now to the communication? And then, of course, way above all of that, we have our Heavenly Parent, who actually is totally capable of a permanent connection with you individually. So that Heavenly Parent is totally capable with the connection to your soul, but can you see what that parent's got to go through to really connect with you? So all of these other belief systems and all of these other conditions and the emotions and our own emotions all add up to a large amount of resistance in our soul to really ever becoming at one with God. Can you see that? That's the truth. So while God is certainly able to barge her way through all of that, to do so she would have to break her own laws of free will. So she's not going to break her own laws. God doesn't create a law just to break it. Right? So the truth is that actually God will not break the law of free will on every one of these people in order to communicate with you. In fact, it would be a very unloving act if God chose to do that. Does that make sense? So God doesn't choose to do that. Just my ear's too big for this thing. It was funny yesterday. I checked. We were doing a bit of magnetic imaging. You know, the MRI scans that Luli is doing anyway. And I get in there and my nose is too big for the... Anyway, I was just laying there and my nose is being pressed down by the lid of it, you know. Anyway, which is... My ear's too big for this thing too, so I just have to get that right. All right, so can you see there's a lot of barriers to truth and love being entering your soul as a result. And not only are they just physical barriers, but they're actually, in some parts of the universe, direct opposition to you ever getting into this condition of at-one-ment with God. Right? Now, in the first century, a group of spirits noticed that when I began connecting to God directly, what happens on Earth when somebody on Earth starts connecting with God, it's sort of like a great big supernova going off. If you can imagine a huge, bright burst of energy going off. Every time you actually connect to God, this happens as well. But if you imagine somebody in that permanent condition, then it's like that bright energy all the time. Now, everyone around that knows that it's there. Even on Earth, people can feel it from you. But spirits in particular can see it happening. And a whole group of spirits in this hellish condition decided that what they're going to do is spend the majority of their energy and concentration on time attacking the persons who are in the brightest condition. Right? And the reason why they want to do that is because these persons are the ones who are having an effect on the earth. So while you are all here and you're allowing yourself to connect to God and receive some love while you're here, oftentimes that's the case as you're receiving truth, the whole energy here is very bright. So spirits can see it from the opposite side of the earth. They can see how bright it is, and they come and visit to investigate. Now, there are a whole group of spirits who are in this condition who know that that brightness means their peril, is the way they see it. Their death knell is the way they see it. Does that make sense? And what they're going to do is they then zone in on every single person who's in a brighter state, and what they do is they try to get you back into a state that's the same as the earth or worse.